Smoke on the podcast. It's your boy Hall of Fame Worthy. Like I always said, you know where y'all can find us at. Please follow us on YouTube, subscribe to us, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, anywhere you can find a podcast. Listen to us on Spotify for podcasts, Spotify, whatever. We gonna be on that, you know what I mean? Gotta follow us, give us that like on Facebook, always. We on Bleacher Report, we on Threads. We need more followers on Instagram Threads. We need more followers on X, because that X is like, where y'all at, man? I'm posting, ain't getting no likes, man. We need bigger likes, you know what I'm saying? Big shout out to Smoke on the Media. We want all the smoke. Don't you be that light toe. All right? So we're gonna get into today's topic, Who's the more unstoppable scorer? Who's not the better scorer, but who's more unstoppable? KD, Kevin Durant, or Michael Jordan? Before you start going like, oh, MJ's the greatest, you gotta think about it. I know MJ had a mean mid-range game, wasn't so good at three-pointers, you know what I'm saying? But he was an unstoppable force. KD at his size, his mid-range game, and the total package is incredible. Pause, you know what I mean? But it's still, his whole game is incredible. So I'm thinking KD gotta be the more unstoppable scorer here, right? Yeah, that's facts. Let's get into it. First, we're gonna start off with Michael Jordan's competition versus KD's competition. Michael Jordan's competition, he had guys, he had to go against Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, all the people that really beat up people, like the Bad Boy Pistons, Dominique Wilkins. He had good competition, His competition produced, like the Boston Celtics, he never beat the Boston Celtics. No matter what anybody say, he's the GOAT, whatever. He never beat the Boston Celtics, okay? With their 4 Hall of Famers, Mikal, Bird, Parrish, Danny Ainge, all of their talent. Michael Jordan had the most talent as an individual player back then, but collectively as a group, the Boston Celtics had his number. Also, the Pistons had his number. But the competition back then was it was more physical than it is now, right? So it kind of made it harder to score, but not for Jordan. Jordan was a scoring machine ever since he came into the league, okay? No matter if he got eliminated time after time again, starting off from his beginning to where he started winning championships in the 90s, when everybody started really slowing down. But his competition, Jordan's competition was nothing, okay? And I'm not gonna say there was nothing, but they wasn't scoring like Jordan was scoring. Maybe Larry Bird, Dominique Wilkins at times. There was not a scorer back in MJ's time like MJ. He was the only one doing what he was doing. And if anybody's gonna say I'm lying, go back and look at the footage. There was nobody playing at that time like Michael Jordan was playing. Bird was hitting threes, doing whatever, telling you he gonna go over here, hit the three-pointer from right here, hit this mid-range shot lefty, and all of that. I understand that. But there was nobody scoring like MJ, all right? With that being said, let's go to KD's competition, okay? Now, you have people like Steph Curry, you have people like the King LeBron James, you have all sorts of people scoring the ball. Right now, when KD's playing, and when KD started playing, they had more scorers like him. You didn't see a 7-foot player, maybe like Dirk Nowitzki and a couple of other people that was scoring like he was. But when KD was playing, there's a lot of people there scoring the ball at a high clip versus when Michael Jordan was playing. That's what I'm saying here with the with KD's competition. Is more of a scoring, and they say that they made it easier to score. Jordan really started that with the Jordan rule, with no hand checks. You can't really touch him. Every time you put a fingertip on him or anything like that, the ref's blowing the whistle. So that really all started with Jordan. That there made it easier for other people like Dirk Nowitzki, the Dwayne Wades. Everybody was in here playing defense and scoring at the same time. Really scoring the ball at a high clip versus when Jordan was playing, okay? KD, a 7-foot shooting guard. When he shoots the ball, you can't even contest that really. He really does whatever he wants on the court at times. And his mid-range was just as good as Michael Jordan's. His three-pointer was actually better, a slight bit better than Michael Jordan's, even though they moved the three-point line in for MJ. Figure that. They moved it in for MJ, and he still wasn't that good of a three-point scorer, but MJ's mid-range was killer. Kevin Durant's competition versus Jordan competition. Jordan's competitions were more defense-oriented. Nobody was scoring like him, but in KD's era, you got a lot of people that can score the ball. Even DeMar DeRozan. You put DeMar DeRozan in Jordan's era, he's going to thrive, and he's going to probably be just as good as Jordan. You know what I'm saying? But this is not about DeMar DeRozan. This is about Kevin Durant or Michael Jordan, the more unstoppable scorer who is. We roll Smoke On the podcast rolling with KD on this one, okay? So we checked off Michael Jordan and KD's competition somewhat. Let's go if you place MJ in KD's era versus if you put KD in MJ's era. Now, this is when y'all gonna say that, oh, if you put Michael Jordan in this era, in KD's era, he's gonna average 60-some points. Yeah, okay. I just found out an interesting fact that back in Jordan's era, it was illegal to triple team somebody in the paint. It was called illegal defense, and you will get called not for a defensive 3 seconds. You will be called as soon as the 3 people come around him. It was illegal. It was an illegal defense. I'm not sure why, but I saw it, and the ref actually blew the whistle and actually gave them a technical foul for illegal defense, okay? It was easy for Jordan to score because he was majority like single cut. There was double teams, but majority of the time it was always one-on-one, backing down one-on-one. KD's era, they can put, like they do LeBron, they put 3 people, it's like a boxing one type of thing going on. And it's not an illegal, the refs do not call it illegal defense at this time. So if you think Jordan could come into this era and score 50, 60 points with all the triple teams and nothing like that, they're getting the ball out of Jordan's hands, regardless. They getting the ball out of his hands. Put KD, put Kevin Durant, a 7-foot shooter with his skill set, you put him in MJ's era, he's ripping through that era. And he probably would score way more than Michael Jordan. Only thing I would say that Michael Jordan had on KD is his mindset. His mindset, the willing to be a killer, and the willingness to score the ball. And not even score, to just his relentlessness. That's the only thing he had over KD, in my opinion. And that doesn't make him a more unstoppable force. Just because of his mindset, that doesn't make that. It shouldn't. But you guys would say, oh, Jordan's relentless on the ball, like he'll score and he would do this. Jordan would score with at least 5 people, the whole team circled around him, and wouldn't even think to pass the ball. Only time he started passing the ball really is when the coach came and Phil Jackson was like, listen, if you want to win championships, you have to pass that ball. You're not gonna win without passing the ball. If not, Jordan was a scoring machine, okay? Well, in today's age where they can place triple teams on you and they could do a box and one, some sort of zone to try to either triple team or really double team the player, Jordan's points would be at least down to probably 25 a game. Whereas you put KD in the 90s and the 80s, with his skill set that he has now, he's scraping people, B. And he will have about 30 scoring championships, 30 scoring titles. His height makes him, there was no stretch bigs back then. The stretch big you had was who? Brad Daugherty. Like, you don't have no people playing like KD back in the day, just like you had nobody playing like Jordan. But I think KD's size would have made a big difference. And Jordan being 6'5" in this era with stretch bigs playing, he wouldn't score 55 this day and age. He wouldn't. I'm sorry. Yeah, I keep on talking about he was a scoring machine. He was, but that was back in the day where he was playing against plumbers and playing against people that think that it's okay to beat you up. And that's what basketball is. Basketball was physical, and it was supposed to be physical. Like, it's physical now, but you can't really, people want to see people play basketball nowadays instead of people getting beat up. You know what I'm saying? People getting just demolished, going to the hole. You know what I mean? And Jordan kind of started that. So let's go to, like we said, KD's height advantage versus Jordan's height advantage. It's insane. 6'5" versus 7 foot, and doing what Jordan, like KD was doing. It's easier to stop a 6'5" guy than it is to stop a 7 foot guy. Just in my opinion, Smoke on the podcast, Hall of Fame worthy, you see it. It's difficult to stop a 7 foot player with the skill set that KD has versus stopping MJ. And like, don't get me wrong, MJ was a phenomenal player, one of the greatest scorers I ever seen in my life. But I think KD in his era would be just as good, even better. Okay, let's go to KD's the more efficient scorer, while Jordan's more explosive. Meaning, I would say Jordan can score at will mid-range. KD can score at will mid-range, plus KD is a killer from 3-point. If y'all saw him in this Olympics when he sat out the whole practice games, basically. They were practice games, and LeBron was going off. Big shout out to the King. He was going off. But when they put KD in that first game, his efficiency was crazy. He started like 8 for 8. Threes, mid-range, layups. KD is just a more efficient scorer. And his stats prove it. Stats prove that throughout the time, Jordan might have had the more killer instinct, and he was more explosive, but KD is the more efficient scorer. Scoring titles, let's go to scoring titles. Scoring leader, Jordan had 10 scoring titles to KD's 4. Yeah. If you take the most shots on the team, you really didn't have to share shots, you know, you know what I mean? Playing on the Chicago Bulls in his earlier years. Because there was really nobody there. There was a 20-point score in his rookie year in a couple of seasons that he had with his first coach, with Collins. But Jordan had the green light to score. He was taking the most shots on the team, and the baskets was going in. He was scoring the ball at a high clip. You know, so he had more scoring titles. KD had to share the ball with not a prime Harden, but a Harden that was just coming into his own. Decent and extravagant Russell Westbrook that was really the heart and soul of that team at the time. KD was the scorer, but Russ was the heart and soul of that right there. Westbrook was like a killer on OKC. You know what I mean? So, and with the scorers that KD had in his era, he's lucky he got 4. There's a lot of people that can score the ball at a high clip versus people that can score the ball back in Jordan's era, because everybody was too busy beating up people. You know what I'm saying? They even think about scoring. It was more, yo, he come to this hole, we gonna whip this, yo, we gonna put him through it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody was really thinking about scoring the ball. You had a couple of scorers back then, you know, but even Charles Barkley was a scorer, but even he was physical. You know what I'm saying? So he had, you know, the game was very different back then. But I'm telling you, now is way, the scoring is just, and it's not because there's no defense. People play defense. Kawhi Leonard plays defense. There's a lot of good defenders out there, but the scoring and the technique, the basketball technique all around is just way better than it was in the 90s. Like Pete said, man, we done with the 90s, man. We've been done with the 90s, fam. 10-4, y'all gonna say, y'all gonna take Jordan on the scoring because he had 10 scoring titles, KD had 4. I'm telling you, the scoring was just different. It was different back then. Jordan was the only one scoring. KD had a lot of people scoring in this day and age. So he's lucky he got 4 in. But he's a 7-foot, just going crazy. 7-foot player with the skills of Michael Jordan plus. You feel me? Let's go into their points per game regular season. Okay, you got Jordan, points per game, he averaged 30.1, while KD averaged 27.3, while sharing the ball. There was nobody really to share the ball with on Jordan's team. He took all the shots, 40 plus shots a game. Of course you're gonna score 30-something points, you better. You know what I mean? You better score 30 points per game. So, all right, Jordan got the edge there. We go to field goal percentage. KD is 501, where MJ was .497. There, field goal, like the more efficient score. You see what I'm saying? More efficient. You know what I mean? From 3-point, dunks, mid-range, KD got him. 3-point percentage, listen, you got KD 387 and MJ 327. Better 3-point shooter, harder to guard at his height, because that release is crazy up top. You can't get to it. Only another 7-foot player can probably get to it, but even that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So 3-point percentage, KD got him there. Free throw percentage, he even got him. He got him by not a slight margin. KD was 884, while MJ was 835. You know, so just KD's game was a more efficient game. And I think if you put KD in Jordan's era, with all of this being said, regardless of the scoring titles, KD would have, the shoe would be on the other foot. Jordan would have probably 3 or 2 scoring titles versus, because he got to play against Curry. Jordan would have to play against Curry. He would have to go against LeBron, Kyrie Irving, all of these scores. You know what you get my drift? He would go against, there was nobody back then like Stephen Curry in Jordan's era. There was nobody back then like LeBron in MJ's era. There was nobody back then like KD in Jordan's era that Jordan had to go against while scoring. Maybe Charles Barkley, but Charles Barkley, Karl Malone, all of these guys, really, they were playing big bully ball and shit like that. They wasn't doing fadeaway jumpers. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to really deal with nobody like Stephen Curry. You didn't have to deal with nobody like even DeMar DeRozan would be pretty good in their era, yo. And all of these ways that they coming up with scoring and the way they train nowadays is just very different from back then. They were doing a whole lot of stupid stuff in the 80s and the 70s, man. They were really playing garbage basketball. I don't care what y'all say. We was done with the 90s, man. Big shout out to Mike Peake, man. He's right. You know what I'm saying? Smoke on the podcast, man. Hall of Fame worthy. I'm talking the truth right now. In the comments, get at us below if you feel like we speaking garbage, you know what I mean? So KD, let's go. Let's talk about KD, right? He could handle the rock like a point guard, shoot like a shooting guard, and slash like one of the craziest wings that you ever seen in your life. And also, and later on in his career, not the beginning, later on in his career, he really started playing defense. Regardless if he was getting dunked on or whatever, he really started going to go get blocks and trying to block the shot. So KD, in my opinion, Smoke on the podcast, is the more unstoppable player, unstoppable scorer. His height is just his height alone. The efficiency in his shot, he's just doing more right now. And I think if you put him in Jordan's era, he would do exactly what Jordan did plus more. You put Jordan in this era, he would be a scorer, but there's a lot of people scoring the ball the way he did. And like the way he did back then versus those plumbers. And not, everybody were playing defense. You got pictures of Jordan rising up over people, and they call playing defense, stand on the floor, just looking down at the floor, just looking at him rise up and shoot. You know what I'm saying? That's not defense. And him backing down Muggsy Bogues one-on-one, and barely Muggsy Bogues almost locked him down. You know who Muggsy Bogues is, okay? So it's not hate towards Jordan, but this is just saying that I think that KD is more unstoppable, especially with his height and everything else that goes with it. Smoke on It podcast, Hall of Fame worthy. Like I said, follow us on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, give us that heart on Instagram. On X, we need more followers on X. Threads, we on Bleacher Report. This episode right here is definitely gonna be on Spotify. Please check us out. Hall of Fame worthy, Smoke on It podcast. Peace and love. One.